Well, folks, we just had another Retropalooza here in Arlington, Texas, and since it's fresh in my mind, I thought I'd give you all of my thoughts and memories.
Hey, kid. Yeah, you. Everyone thinks toys are fun, but this is a channel for adults. Yeah, I said it. If you're under the age of 18, go get your parents before you come in here. If you're under the age of 13, scram! Let's get on with the show.
As expected, I had an amazing time. It was great to be able to go to this convention, in the hometown. I've lived here for 2 years, and when I first arrived here in the area, Retropalooza was that very weekend. I was working weekends at the time. I barely had a chance to catch any of the after parties. So I never got to go to the convention proper here in Arlington until this year, thanks to a certain thing called 2020. I will say, however, it was very, very much worth the wait. Let's talk about it. Although Retropalooza is officially a Saturday and Sunday event for vendors, friends of the organizers, guests, and everyone in between, the event really starts on Friday. I had a full day ahead of me as I had some work obligations, needed to get my hair cut and my beard trimmed, but right after we got all that taken care of, Susan and I headed right over to the event. We had to help load in, and although the setup was complete in terms of your different barriers, things like that, the basic structure of the larger room of the Arlington Convention Center, the big stuff quite literally had yet to be done. You see, Jay, who is part of the Game Chasers and the Toy Chasers, who runs this event primarily, has a large collection of arcade machines he's going to be using for a barcade hopefully sometime next year. But in the meantime, it's the perfect opportunity for him to show them off and let people enjoy them. The problem is, there's a lot of them, and they're extremely heavy. A crew of about 6 to 7 of us took our time over the course of the next couple hours, staging them off of a truck, well, 2 trucks, one 15-footer and one 20-footer. And we staged them off the truck, onto hand trucks, moved them into the convention center, placed them where they were supposed to be, and then arranged them in order. Now, all I was really doing was helping stage them from the truck itself to the edge onto a hand truck, get them inside the event, and then the other half of that crew would then get them over to the space they were being used, arrange them, plug them in, that sort of thing. So for me, it was a lot of oomph, 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 like lots of pushing, twisting, turning. Nothing too crazy. The guys that were doing the inside work as far as moving the arcade cabinets around probably were under the most physical stress of anyone in the event. So I don't want to give the impression that I'm like, oh, it's really hard. But for me, relative to the amount of exercise I get, read none, it was pretty rough stuff. And although I was happy to do it, my body was not happy that I volunteered myself for this. I was glad to do it, though. I always want to help, because even though I'm part of the greater extended Game Chasers family, so to speak, I don't expect special treatment. I want to help. I want to get in there and get my hands dirty as much as I can. And even though I've been losing a lot of weight, my fitness is still not where it needs to be. So one of my fitness goals, and I'm putting this in the video for a reason, one of my fitness goals is to be in a better shape next year and to put myself in a position with my schedule to ensure that I can help that much more next year. So Jay, if you're watching this, I want you to hold me to this. Each progressive time that I go to Retropalooza, I'm going to help a little bit more each time as my fitness gets better and my weight gets lower. That's a promise, and you can take that to the bank. And to be fair, I'm 2 for 2 so far. In addition to the physicality of moving things around and helping get set up, there's a lot of meet and greet, even though it's just the insider folks of guests, vendors, that sort of a thing. You're saying hello to people you haven't seen for, in some cases, a few months or even a few years. I'm trying to remember that I'm partnered again, and I have to introduce Suze to a lot of people, on which I dropped the ball on a few occasions, and Suze was very patient and very gracious about the whole thing, and I thank her very much. While I'm on the subject, I would say that a good 80 to 90% of the footage you are about to see of the event was captured by Suze, and she did a great job, especially given she has no experience. I gave her very little direction, but I'm very happy that she was able to come along for the setup day and Saturday and help film a lot of things for me. So this way you get that much more of the event. So whether in the comments or on social media, or if you see in our live chat, take a second to thank her, because without her, this video would be a lot of me talking just like this. So once basic setup was more or less over for the majority of folks there, given that we'd got a lot of people come in, had just gotten there and so forth, I did my best with a few friends to gather some folks together so we could get something to eat, as is tradition with Retropalooza. So I grabbed John Blue Riggs, 8-Bit Eric, and a few other people, some folks I had never met before, and we all went over to a Chili's. Now, I realize that Chili's is not an exotic location, destination, dining place for people that are not from Texas, but all of the places that were in driving distance, with very few exceptions, everyone had. So we went to Chili's, and it was a very long wait, but we got our food. It was really good, and we had a good time. With all of the time that had passed between when we left the convention center and finished dinner, it was, and by that point, close to 2.5 hours, which was pretty ridiculous given the fact that this place was a mile away, and we were told when we got there that we were next in line. It took a long time. But by that point, you're mentally exhausted, we're physically exhausted, so we opted to drop John off at the convention center so he could pick up his stuff and then go back to the hotel, which was right next to the event center. And then Susan and I went home to kind of nurse our wounds, get some sleep, and relax, which was probably the best decision we could have made, despite my desire to kind of hang out and do a few things with the guys and gals. But it was the best choice, because I found out later that there wasn't a whole lot of nocturnal activity, so to speak. Not a ton. So we didn't miss a whole lot. Now, when we get into the actual convention center Saturday, this is where your footage begins. This is where the fun begins. So without further ado, let's show you what walking into Retropalooza is like. We're filming from the very front entrance of the convention center, and as you walk up the stairs, you go inside, we're greeted by some security folks, which, depending upon your viewpoint, are either very welcome or very obtrusive. They have you empty your pockets, and they go through your bag, just like at the airport, although not nearly as stringent. They just want to make sure everyone is safe, and for all the annoyance that it can be, I don't really blame them for doing so. Once we were checked, walk right in, and immediately there's just activity, and people are walking all over the place. There's color everywhere, there's booths everywhere, people to re-greet or greet for the first time since you've gotten there, and it's a lot of fun. But right away, something catches my eye.
Right away. Right away with the shit.
I cannot escape Marvel Legends stuff. I swear. But it was kind of cool. That's more or less the first thing that I saw when I walked in there. But as you can see, there's a lot of variety in the booths that are on display here. There's art, there's video games, toys, and all manner of maker type things in between. And this is just one row. And when you get to the back, there's a whole lot of rows there. There's 4 rows or 5 rows of vendors, with vendors lining the back wall. Then you had the arcades off into the back. I wanted to make a point to stop at my good friend OK Chief's booth. As you might recall, he was the person responsible for selling me my very first Motu Origins figure, a Stratos, back at Retropalooza Houston. We took a look around his booth. There was a lot of great stuff there, depending upon the type of collector that you are. Vintage, modern, everything in between. Prices were all over the place, but were consistent in as much as he had stuff of almost any price range you were looking for. He had everything from vintage Star Wars to current Star Wars stuff, lunch boxes, stuffed animals, just about a little bit of everything. And I stopped to talk to him for a few moments. I took a moment to gander at everything that he had, particularly some of the Motu Origin stuff on order. some Christmas ornaments that he had for Motu, as well as a vintage Eeyore that was in the corner. There's a ton of cool stuff there. But because we'd just gotten there, I wanted to make sure that we were checked in at the table that we're kind of all sharing with the Game Chasers family there, and make sure that everything is taken care of. So we just walk along here, and certainly it was important that I greet everyone that I could. Next person I come across is Tyler from My Retro Life Gaming, one of the best YouTube creators in the retro gaming space. He has a really unique thing that he does. He happens to have videotaped memories of nearly every retro gaming experience he's had, from birthdays to Christmases and everything in between. His father was someone who was very enthusiastic about gaming in his own right. He also had a video camera, and they combined the two in kind of a proto-YouTube kind of a thing. So he's had all these tapes over the years that he's been able to then now, as an adult, go back, digitize, edit, and talk about his memories and talk you through his childhood in a very unique way. I'm not aware of many other YouTube channels that do that sort of a thing, and Tyler is by far the best at what he does. If you want to talk about banking on nostalgia, that's a good place to do it. All that aside, I got to meet him at the last Retropalooza in Houston. We became friends, and it was great to see him again, where he was actually selling still shots from the videos that he has on his channel. So people could have a piece of the nostalgia and his memories on their wall, which I thought was really neat. Next on the list was John Blue Riggs, fresh off of a night of good rest from our dinner last night, and he had someone speaking to him who kind of perplexed us a little bit with how to describe a very fun movie.
He doesn't know what this comes from.
No clue.
Yeah, so They Live, which is only one of the best movies ever.
Yeah, like in my top 10.
I mean,
What
like,
genre does it fall in?
not horror, not sci-fi.
Like sci-fi, like
Sci-fi Twilight Zone.
From there, I walked to the end of the guest tables to find Kenny, the voice of Bowser, holding court. By then, the place was filling up left and right, and it just is a sight to behold. You know, it's difficult to get the scope of what you're seeing when you're walking around. If you sit still long enough and just kind of crane your eyes or a camera, you're going to see just how many people are at an event like this. And it's amazing to consider that, you know, 10 years ago when the Game Chasers started, it was just a couple guys with a video camera, and then they eventually went to different conventions and things of the kind, but they got the idea to do their own. And I have to say, without bias, this really is the best one I've ever been to. It's simply amazing. They have the best vendors with the best prices, the friendliest guests. It really is an experience that you have to have for yourself. So when the next Retropalooza comes up, no matter what city it's in, I strongly advise you make your way there. Once we got to the Game Chasers table, which was adjacent to Boogie 2988's table, 8-Bit Eric's table, and a few other folks down the line, it was just kind of a long, kind of friendly camaraderie home base. I always make it a point to settle with the Game Chasers for the simple fact that I don't, at this point, see a need to get my own booth for anything, because I'm not selling anything. But I also want to make sure that anyone in the Game Chasers family that wants to walk around can be safe knowing that their table and their stuff is being watched. So we all take turns on manning the table and making sure that everyone's stuff is taken care of, that they don't have to worry. So it gives me a home base, so I don't have to worry about knocking my back out of whack walking around, and I get to help out at the same time. Billy had a lot of stuff for sale from his private collection, which is kind of his MO. He'll bring out the more sought after things from his private collection that he doesn't necessarily need, and because he wants to, on one hand, certainly wants to get rid of some things he doesn't want, but also for folks that are fans of the channel, it's really special to be able to buy a Grail piece from someone that you're a fan of. So I think it's one of the best experiences that you can have. When you can buy something from someone that you know or trust or just like, it's way better than a faceless eBay seller or a vendor that you don't know. It always is that much of a next level experience, so it's always fun. And I kind of go out of my way to help people understand what they're looking at, how much things are, that he's flexible and so forth, because Billy is a very extremely humble guy, doesn't want to rip anybody off, but on the same token, because he is so generous, I like to make sure that he doesn't get ripped off. So there's that fine balance in there that I like to try and strike. And I have to say that I had some of the most fun talking to interested parties about the different things and you know, talking about value, talking about you know, where they were when they first played the game, or just discussing an item, or just making jokes at each other and having a good time. For me, this is the best part of Retropalooza, and I was really honored to be able to do that once again at this booth. So Billy, if you're watching, I love helping sell your stuff, but I like spending time with you and all the fans. Thank you so much for having me as usual. Speaking of which, there's one particular fan of the Game Chasers family whose name escapes me, which is horrible, but you cannot mistake him when you see him. He's got this big smile, and he's always got a pleasant way about him, and he just brings in bin after box after box of stuff that he's found at the flea markets where he lives, which is a more remote part of Texas. So it's not exactly slim pickings. He kind of gets his run of the place because there's no one else in the area that has those interests. Between that and the fact that he is basically a scene of one, the prices are a lot better. So he just grabs stuff up, takes what he wants, and then he tends to just kind of share the wealth. Quite literally, a large portion of what you see here from my halls of Retropalooza Arlington are from him at no charge. And he'll say that again. A large portion of this I got for free from a guy who's just nice and has stuff. It's amazing. Love the guy. And buddy, if you're watching, man, I'm really sorry that I don't remember your name. I'm going to reintroduce myself to you the next time I see you, and I'm going to make it a point to remember your name. It is something I am horrible about, and I'm going to get better at it. But with all the generosity that you've shown us at the last few events I've been at, that's the least that I can do. But I can show you his face again. Don't worry, we're going to get into the hall later. Just admire it for now. One of the things that I was most looking forward to this particular year was seeing Melvor for the first time in at least 6 months. I'd seen him, I believe, earlier in the year at the Toy Expo. It may have been a lot longer before that. I don't remember. At least 6 months, probably closer to 18. The guy has a crazy work schedule. He's got a family, so he doesn't get to go out that much, especially on the weekends. So getting to see him on both Saturday and Sunday was an absolute treat, especially as we've gotten to know each other better over the last, year, 2 years or so. We got to sit down and just talk about toys and kind of rap about different things. And, it's just great to talk to the guy, because it is something that you tend to cherish. It's really weird in a day and age where I live close to some of my closest friends and favorite people, but I hardly ever see them because all of our schedules are so disparate.
We keep talking about it. He's here. He's about to leave.
I'm about to leave. I got a babysit. My wife.
You'll be here tomorrow, right?
I'll be here tomorrow.
Well, maybe we'll see some chasing. You'll never know until, when I edit this. So you'll find out in a second. Maybe
It's still recording.
Oh,
Yeah.
just take a regular picture.
Okay.
Right around this time, the Game Chasers panel was about to start, and we were going to be talking about the movie and kind of get through some things. And what began as going to be Billy and Jay and a couple people coming in and out slowly became the extended Game Chasers family and the whole thing. So you had Billy, Jay, Redneck Chris, myself, Eric, and OK Chief just doing what we do, holding court and having a great time. Each of us got to tell some different stories, and here are some basic highlights. The reason I say basic highlights is that, one, when you're taking footage from 10 feet away and the audio's on the other side of the room, it's not going to be the easiest to capture. But the entire panel was recorded and will be released on the pre-order version of the Blu-ray that you cannot get anywhere else. Blu-rays that are released for sale after these pre-orders will not have all the special features that this one does, and it's going to be jam-packed. So my recommendation to you is to go over to Indiegogo and support/pre-order the Game Chasers movie, if for no other reason that if you watch this channel, you're probably going to enjoy the movie, not just because I'm in it, but because it's the type of thing that we all really love and share. So if you could support the movie, it would mean a lot to me. And if nothing else, you get more of me. What's not to love? Anyway, here are some highlights.
Chris is here.
That's a good one.
Right now, Chris, everybody.
Does your shirt say Chud?
It does. It totally does.
That's
Yeah.
a cool movie.
Yes, it is.
I have it on Laserdisc.
But you know what else is a cool movie?
I want Jim to stand up, show everyone your combo. This dude's got a fucking ass today. Stand up.
We
Now,
used
now
to
imagine that. Hot and sweaty.
Hey, when we're breaking the ice, you can't just go right into it.
shake it, baby.
It's like, you know, go for the...
I didn't realize there was like convention foreplay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you'll get the Superman pose right away. You know.
How many of you seen the trailer? Seen the trailer for the movie? Okay. The only part that's really prominent of me is me walking, carrying this thing with Game Day. Okay. We did that shot 16 times. And by the end of it, I'm like, did we get it? No. I'm like screaming on top of my lungs because there was planes and there was this fucking dog. And
Those mics pick up everything.
you know, drove 45 minutes down there, and we did set up in like 20 minutes, and we were there for like an hour, hour and a half, and then 45 minutes back.
Must be
To,
nice.
to film me mouthing 2 words. That's it.
What is it? Is it a spoiler?
Huge.
Basically, it was most of that time was just, let's get it from this angle, from this angle, and then we did like probably, I don't know, 8 to 12 takes of just doing it for fun, like things that would never end up on screen, like.
Although the panel was relatively early in the day, the rest of the convention day proper just flew by. Meeting lots of people, talking with folks, having a great time, and then things started to wind down a little bit. But for, vendors, VIPs, and guests, there was a semi-private party on the convention floor over by the arcade cabinets. And I got to sit down and talk with a bunch of different people, some new friends, some old, catch up, have a couple beers, and enjoy the heck out of myself. Although it wasn't as close quarters as I normally would have liked, because when you think party, you get to kind of mingle through people and so forth. I mean, this was spread out. We did get to hang out with a lot of folks we'd met at the table, folks that we'd met after the panel. Just a great time overall, for sure. And, get a couple beers, talk to some folks. What more could you ask? One of the folks I was most excited to reconnect with was Pixel Dan, who was also at the party. And we got to talk through a bunch of different things, like how the Mysteries of Grayskull release was handled, what the product actually was like. I gave him some insights because I'd seen Retro Blasting's Patreon exclusive live stream, just opening the box and talking through, their thoughts on it. And I shared my concerns and my likes and my philosophies on it, and he did the same. He brought up an interesting point about how he would love to see Playmates do something similar with, Ninja Turtles to what Mattel is doing with Motu Origins, and I have to agree. I think that would be amazing. But we just talked about some basic stuff, and being primed with my conversation with Melvor earlier in the day, it was great to just talk more toys, because right now that's just something I'm really focused on. So it was great to be able to talk to Dan again about that stuff with a newfound appreciation for the hobby. So Dan, thanks, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to let me bend your ear a little bit. You're a good guy, and I consider you a friend. And before anyone lashes out in the comments, I am friends with a lot of people that I don't agree on every single point with. We can have differing opinions, have a meaningful conversation, and learn something from each other. Besides, we collect toys, video games, and movies. Most of us are either in middle age or heading to middle age, so let's lighten up a little tiny bit, okay? So when someone says respectfully disagree, know that respectfully disagreeing with something does not mean that they don't like the other person. I can be friends with someone if I don't agree with everything they have to say. I'm friends with them because they're a good person. By the time I got the third beer in my hand, people were like, well, this is winding down. We're going to head over to this after party at an arcade across town. Are you coming? And I quickly did the math in my head. How long am I actually going to get to spend there and get a decent night's sleep? How much does it cost to actually, have a couple drinks, have a good time? And on top of that, am I going to be able to have meaningful time with any of my friends in a crowded place? And when you do that math, I said, I'm going to go home and just have another beer or two at home and get some sleep, which again, for me, in the moment, was the best thing to do. I know that makes me lame, but in this case, it paid to be lame so I could be there in the morning on time. So Sunday, day 3 for us, but day 2 for everyone else, I decided to get up bright and early with a full night's sleep and head over early, because I had a feeling that after party was going to take longer for most folks. Billy doesn't live super close. Chris doesn't live super close. I knew Jay needed to get his sleep, and he wasn't manning the booth anyway. Someone had to show up to make sure things were okay. I took it upon myself to do that, and I'm glad that I did. About 5 to 10 minutes after I sat down, Allie, one of the event organizers and one of my favorite people, came by and said, oh, Billy just called to make sure that everything was okay at the table. I'm like, I got it. She goes, great. So we were able to help in some small way again. I say we, but it was just me, so it was I, because Suze opted to stay home for the day, get some alone time, get some quiet, because, lots of people, lots of noise affects everyone differently. And besides, she doesn't always have the luxury of taking time off like I do. She had to work Monday, so it was best for her to get some rest, which I completely advocated. So I'm sitting at the table by myself for a little while, but that's okay. I had a good time.
Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate the compliment.
And subscribe.
I appreciate that too. We'll see you on the next one.
You didn't subscribe to me.
That was. Why would he subscribe to you?
Because I'm awesome.
All right, he's not wrong. He is awesome. What do you got? No, I do not. You sound like Scooby-Doo.
By this point, I'd had more chances to catch up with my good buddy 16-Bit Pete. I'd had a good chance to talk with Rob a bit more from Order 42, and just generally relax and have a good time. More and more people stop by the booths around this time, because this is when they're saying, okay, it's the end of the day. How am I going to get my deals? What's going to happen? How are we doing? What's going on? So there's a lot more interaction, which is interesting to me. Like, you see more people on Saturday, but more people will stop and talk on Sunday. Interesting thing about conventions. So I had a lot of fun doing that. Certainly, filmed a little bit here and there with some folks. And then by the time, midday came around, Melvor made it clear that they wanted to film some Toy Chaser stuff and would I like to participate on some level. I said sure. And they went off to begin the filming process. I decided to get up and start filming on my own. So here are some clips from that.
That man has fast feet.
How's it going?
Hey, G.
Hey, what's going on, Joe?
That's pretty good. You having a good one?
Oh, I'm having a great one.
Yeah?
Man, I'm cleaned out.
Good.
I'm cleaned out. Now I'm just getting ready for the panel, and it's like, it's
What time is it?
insane. 3:30. 3:30.
3:30 panel.
Yep.
Thanks, brother.
All right, see you.
But seriously, that shit was awesome. The do-do-do-do-do. No Pat. Hashtag no Pat in the flesh.
Big Jim!
I heard that you had toys at Gringo's like.
I do, and I give gringos good deals because they can't find any out in the wild.
That's not what I heard.
That's what I heard.
Oh, well, what do you got? So we saw a few things here. I see some Ninja Turtles over here. Star Wars over here.
Well, you're gonna have to go over there and check it out.
I think I will right now. All right. Excuse me, there's 2 wrinkles in this card back. I believe that lowers the price by at least 37 cents.
At the bare minimum, $30
Less.
less.
So you owe me $5.
After I bugged the chief for a little bit, I made my way over to my good friend Scott's booth, who also runs a separate event here in town, which is going on in November, which you'll hear more about when we get closer to that event. Incidentally, he was the producer on the Game Chasers movie, which is how he and I met. Although Scott had made it a point to tell me about these Wishbug catalogs he wanted me to take a look at earlier in the weekend, I didn't have a chance to stop by and look at them until later in the day on Sunday. But by the time I got there, the Toy Chasers were in full swing and already filming. Once I realized that they were filming and filming me, I put the phone down and I just focused on looking through the catalog and just being in the moment. But I will give you the slightest little bit of a teaser of what is to come right now.
Here we go. I've got 1983 JCPenney.
I had this.
Yeah.
I had this too.
Yeah.
The thing is, 83 is good, but if it was 84. 84 is the year because
Superpowers.
it's gotta be superpowers, man. I had that. Well, that's the thing. I don't have any room and I buy them anyway.
Oh.
Like, that's a really good deal on one of those.
Yeah, it's got some problems, obviously.
But it's not 84. But I thank you for the memory, though, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's what they're for.
I just screwed a good friend.
Bear in mind, this is all in good fun. Scott and I are friends, and I legitimately felt bad that I wasn't walking away with one of these catalogs, but I did make it clear that I'm really looking for a 1984 one. So he's going to keep his eyes open and try to help out as best as he can. Whether he does or not, I really appreciated the opportunity to look through there and really, get some memories out on the table. It was a lot of fun, and it was one of the best things.
But it was creepy. He kept pointing to shit that I had. However, I was on a mission.
Thank y'all.
You know what's coming.
What?
It's the end of the fest.
That's right, it is the end of the fest. So,
Guess what?
What's up?
Come to get my glasses.
Every Retropalooza, I have to stop by Sketchy Etchy Glass and get some stuff. So I made it a point to do that. About halfway through Saturday, but after the panel, Suze went kind of looking deeper at some stuff that she liked. She found a steampunk booth that she had a great affinity for, got to know the lady a little bit, and was able to, film a few things from the booth and just really soak it in, because that's something she's really into. I took the time to stop by the same booth and, talk to her myself, get to know her myself, get her card, and we're going to be ordering some custom pieces for her as soon as we possibly can. Once I made my way to Tim and Elizabeth's booth to get my glasses, that was pretty much it. I went back to the booth, sat down for a few minutes, gathered my stuff, and I went home. I was tired, but really elated and happy with everything that occurred. But I know you're like, that's great. I love that you're so happy. But look, we want to hear about this stuff. Fine. We're going to hear about the stuff. So let's get into it. Because things are so precariously stacked and staged here, I'm going to kind of go with the most precarious and then move through. All right? So bear in mind, this is not going to go in a specific order other than what I have stacked. All right? So first and foremost, we have these alien xenomorph egg salt and pepper shakers, which according to the box are a Nerd Block exclusive. You can get a version of these on Amazon or eBay brand new for around 20 bucks. But having that little sticker on there was kind of cool. But just like Sue said when she saw them, anything xenomorph, we're taking. Let me show you these. Now again, these are one of the things that were free from our good friend. Look at these. These are definitely screen accurate salt and pepper shakers. Got the little stoppers in there, and the refrain that Susan and I had when we saw these was, well, we weren't going to have a dining room, but now we kind of have to. To get these at all was really cool, but to get them from someone who's a genuinely nice person and just out of generosity, which is like, here, check this out, made it even better. So thank you so much. Also on the precarious list and the list of things we got from our benefactor are these semi-vintage Thundercats wristbands. They have been used. The elastic is pretty worn on them, so you probably have to put them on your arm at this point. But they look great, and if memory serves, they're probably late 90s, early 2000s. But they're embroidered and they look great, and for the price of free. From here, I'm going to get into the glassware so I can make room to get to the other things. These are limited edition Retropalooza glasses specifically for Halloween and this year only, in orange and black with custom blood splatter. This is right up my alley. I get Retropalooza glasses every time that I go, which so far is 2, but I make it a point because I love really good quality pint glassware. I drink almost everything out of pint glasses except for coffee. So I get as many of them as I can. My collection of those is growing almost faster than my toy collection. And because Elizabeth does such great work, there's no reason I wasn't getting these. In addition to the Retropalooza custom, I got this beautiful He-Man and the Masters of the Universe glass from Elizabeth as well. It was tough making a choice on, one character glass to get, but had to get this one, Motu Origins. Another glass that Elizabeth made, but was not being sold at their booth, was from my friend Daryl, aka Dodongo from the Game Chasers. I have footage of me buying this glass from him right here.
Okay, me? I'm bringing America to Dongo. I think I'm gonna start a brand new party, the People's Party, okay? One of these days we're gonna get Stone Cold Steve Austin and Dwayne The Rock Johnson to run the People's Party, all right? But that's after my term, my 8 years.
And that's how changing Americans go.
That's right. My motto is, you can say, getting shit fixed.
Yeah, getting shit fixed, apparently. No, now I have to pay him for it.
Yeah, now you gotta pay me.
I'd vote for him. But wait, there's still more glassware. This time, though, it's vintage. This is an original 1984 7-Up glass release from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I know that because it says so right here. And as you can see, it's in really good shape. Only a little bit of fading, no chipping. It's just beautiful. And although, because it's vintage, it's unlikely I ever want to drink out of this. Just having this around and having memories of having seen Temple of Doom in the theater, this is great. Even more vintage is this 1976 Green Lantern glass from the Super Series from Pepsi, which was put out by the National Periodicals Publications. And, you can see the back, the colors are much brighter, but the outside has been worn off a bit. This is just from, being washed too many times or something like that. I've looked up this glass in various places just to see what the original would look like. This one is faded pretty bad. But the glass apparently is kind of hard to come by. Being a fan of the character, being a Superpowers collection fan and collector, obviously I had to have this. Now we start to get into a bit of the weeds here, so let's go along. Being that Retropalooza is mainly focused on retro gaming with an appreciation for toys, it's no surprise that I ended up getting a video game while I was there. What I found, again, from our benefactor, was this copy from the Super Famicom edition of what we call the Super Nintendo. This is a Japanese game called it's Sankyo Fever, which is like a pachinko game, like a little which I always like those kind of games, and I don't have any Super Famicom games yet that I'm aware of anyway. And I wanted to start collecting Japanese games more, and this is the first one. Speaking of Japanese, I also got this Japanese portable Monopoly game. I thought it was electronic. It's not. It's a fully featured portable Monopoly game in Japanese. Let me show you. So not only is it in the box, but it's complete in nearly pristine shape. It comes with these instructions here that do have, looks like the instructions do have English on them, which is interesting. And they're really crisp. Like, these have been folded for probably, 20, 30 years at this point. But you've got the rules and everything. It's all in English, which is great. Did not expect that. You've also got instructions in what appears to be Japanese, which is pretty cool. And then a pamphlet for other games that the manufacturer sells. And there's a bunch of different board games in here. This is great. Look at this. And now for the game itself. So when you open it, there's I don't know if this is supposed to be a scorecard or a warranty card or what, but it's very much in Japanese, and I'm not going to do anything with it, but keep it with the game. So inside this pouch here, you've got your money, your different cards, and everything like that, which are in pretty good shape, a little bit worse for wear, but everything appears to be intact. And the cards have both Japanese and English on them, which is great. But here's the board. I love this board. Look at this. How beautiful is this? This is great. And it's just such a unique piece. Is this something I'm going to take on the road? Nah, probably not. But just to be able to say I have a Japanese portable Monopoly game? Come on. Get out of here. This is great. And there you go. Monopoly. I love it. He also had just a lot of videotapes with him for no apparent reason. I saw this copy of Night of the Living Dead colorized and got really excited. I took it, put it in my bag, didn't realize that it has these closed box on both ends, and this part is squishy, which means this is a Betamax. So I can't watch it, but it's a cool box. It's a great display piece and an interesting piece of history. Now, at first glance, you're like, why do you care about a sealed copy of The Addams Family from the 90s on VHS? Well, if that's all it was, I wouldn't. But this is sealed, original seal. The foil is still intact, pristine condition. But here's the neat part. This is a McDonald's variant. They would sell these for next to nothing, or give them away with certain deals at McDonald's and so forth. So this is just an oddity and a great conversation piece. I saw this movie in the theater. It was one of, if not my first date ever. So this movie has some great significance for me. I actually love the movie, and having it in a sealed condition with an interesting variant to it, come on. For the price of free, all that, and a side of fries. Night of the Comet. Kind of a difficult VHS to find. Not the most horrible one to find, but a little uncommon. And I've seen parts of the movie, I've never seen it all the way through. So I selfishly grabbed this because, well, I want to watch it. It looks like it's never been watched. The box is a little beat up, but this tape is insanely clean. I don't see any indication of like the tape stretching or anything like that, so why not? I was about to leave the table to go do something else while our good friend, the benefactor, was kind of showing all these things off. I come around the table, I look down the box, and I just happened to see that. And I got really excited. As you all know, I am a huge fan of the original animated Transformers movie. I saw it in the theater when it first came out. I loved the movie. I did not have the traumatic experience many other people had. Yes, seeing Transformers die was sad, but it was just a good story to me. I loved it. And, I have this, I've talked about this on live shows multiple times, where I have this film's soundtrack in multiple formats, and I have the movie in multiple formats. And although I do have a version of this on VHS, you're going to see why I grabbed this one in a minute. This is the Kid Rhino 1998-1999 release, depending upon where you were in the world when it came out. It's in a clamshell, which is in amazing shape. Number one, that's worth it alone to have a good clamshell, because those get ripped pretty easy. But when you open it, you look at the tape, there's no yellowing. It's pristine. It barely looks ever been played, but it gets better. This Mamma Jamma is complete. You've got a mailing list application for Rhino. You've got this Rhino little catalog. It's got some great stuff in it here. There's all kinds of neat stuff. Like there's like Blue's Clues stuff and Star Wars and just all kinds of stuff. And granted, I'm not really into the catalog, but it's just complete. And they have this card that I really like. It shows like all of the Rhino stuff for G.I. Joe and all the Rhino stuff for Transformers. And when I saw that it was complete, condition notwithstanding, I was like, give me it. Because I just want something that is, for all intents and purposes, right off of the shelf. It's beautiful. It's a great display piece. And yeah, when I get my VCR out of storage, I'm going to watch it. By the time I get back to the table, I sit down and I hear out of the corner of my ear, so to speak, oh, Jim's big into horror. And then I see this hand move in front of my eyes and hand me these. Phantasm Remastered, which is still a relatively easy copy to get. But we had just rewatched these for Halloween. I was looking at buying them. So, hey, this is awesome. Love it. But that's not all. This is the Phantasm 2 Collector's Edition from Shout Factory, which is out of print and fetches a pretty hefty sum for Blu-rays. He's like, yeah, here. I know this is the rare one. Take it. Phantasm 2 is arguably the best one in the series, and Shout Factory really knows what they're doing when it comes to these things. So having the extra nice edition, again, and I'm not blabbing here, but for free, like why wouldn't I? This is amazing. For those of you that watch me for my toy content, this is the one you've been waiting for, maybe. This is a boxed Star Trek from Playmates, so Star Trek TNG, Captain Jean-Luc Picard and Guinan for the Dixon Hill holodeck diorama playset. So inside here is a little diorama to place these figures in, and if you're familiar with Star Trek TNG, you're familiar with those episodes, these are pretty accurate. There was a sticker on here. I'm going to have to clean that up a bit. It's got a collector's series number on it, which I don't know what the deal is with that with Playmates. But on the back, it kind of shows you all the different things you could get, and it's really interesting to me. It's not something that I ever see. I know it's not horribly expensive, but as someone who is a big Star Trek The Next Generation fan, and I particularly like the Dixon Hill episodes, and just the fact that it has a diorama built into the box, it's like, you never see stuff like this. So I had to have this one. All in all, I'd say it's a really, really hefty haul for someone with wider range of tastes as I have. Yeah, I know, just one toy, but understand that, you know, I've been having such an influx of toys that when I went to Retropalooza and there was an opportunity to get other kinds of collectibles, I couldn't say no, and it was the best opportunity I was going to have for a long time. I can't say enough good things about Retropalooza. I had an amazing time from start to finish. I'll say it over and over again. When the next one comes up, if you're in the area, make it a point to be there, just like Master Son did. He was there on Saturday. He got there late Friday night, got there Saturday. We hung out for a little bit at the table. From my understanding, he was at the panel. where he was a bit confused that we were talking about a movie, which is my bad. I didn't, as far as I know, see him for the rest of the convention, and that's a big regret of mine. So I want to call it out here. Master Son, it meant a lot to me that you were there with a specific goal of seeing me in mind, as well as just getting to know the convention. And I want you to come back down as soon as possible so I can give you a proper hangout, because you deserve it. You're a great freaking dude. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for making the con that much better for me. So that's amazing. Special thanks to Jay, Billy, Milvor, Dodongo, Tim, Elizabeth, Allie, Suze, Rob, everybody that was at this event and just made it so much fun, relaxing, and welcoming. I can't wait to do it again. Can we do it next weekend? Can we do it again, please? No? It may only be twice a year, but I tell you something, I look forward to it every single time. I know if it was more than twice a year, it wouldn't be as special, but this was a great time. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If this is your first one, consider sticking around. We talk about a lot of different stuff here, so I hope you'll join the conversation. But for everyone else, in the meantime, may all your card backs be straight, may all your grinds be merry, and may you be able to get anything you're looking for at any given time at a price you feel is reasonable. Thanks again for watching. I love you all. Take care, and we'll see you soon.